Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Mike Grevlin coming to you from Chicago. As usual, I've just got a quick one here. I messed up the time, so I'm basically probably talking to myself, but that's okay. That's okay. This one's for the replay crew. I was tipped off to this. It's a short but wild one up in front of Judge Goth here, or Gautier, as you guys like to say. Let's get it started, shall we?
Right. Okay, good morning. We're on the record in the 53rd Circuit Court for the County of Presqu'île. We are providing public access in the Presqu'île County Courthouse as well as online. I'm conducting the hearing by video from the Sheboygan Circuit Courtroom, and it is in re contempt of Darren A. Wisely. It occurred in the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Justin Ray Mason, filed 21-93167 or 93168 FC. Because this does not appear to be a critical stage of the proceedings as to Mr. Mason is not present. Attorney Darren Wisely is present from the, looks like Alpena County Jail by Zoom video, and Mr. Radsbon, the Presqu'île prosecutor, is appearing from the Presqu'île courtroom. Mr. Wisely, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been served with an order for show cause for this hearing this morning?
I have, Your Honor.
All right, and just as a procedural summary, we had a jury trial in the People v. Mason matter. And when the jury retired to deliberate, the court instructed the attorneys, as is the court's typical practice, not to leave the courthouse grounds so that we could facilitate answers to jury questions in a timely manner. The jury requested, sent out a question. We assembled court. We couldn't find Mr. Wisely. He was found by law enforcement over an hour later at a residence not at the courthouse, asleep. He was brought back to the court. We proceeded with the trial and received a verdict. And then we had a contempt hearing for that show cause. I held Mr. Wisely in contempt and ordered him to serve 24 hours in the Presqu'île jail to be released at 6 p.m. today. Because his demeanor during the trial was fine, but his demeanor upon return to the courthouse was different, and he appeared to be quite fatigued. I did ask him on the record whether he was under the influence of anything. He told me he was not. So then he was taken into custody, brought to the jail. The bailiff later returned to me and reported that Mr. Wisely blew a .15 on the PBT. So Mr. Wisely, the contempt for not remaining on the courthouse grounds has been resolved. This is a show cause for you to show cause why you shouldn't be held in contempt for lying to the court when I asked you that on the record. You do, of course, have a right to a hearing, right to counsel if you wish. I know we did this in pretty short order in terms of notice. So if you wanted an adjournment, I would grant that. I guess I just wanted to address it quickly so that we could handle some things on the record. Particularly, it was my impression that you were not under the influence of anything during the trial, and your demeanor had changed after we sent the jury out to deliberate.
Oh, man.
You have the right to remain silent in this proceeding. I wanted to give you an opportunity to explain the timing of that. So I guess, Mr. Wisely, first, do you understand the rights you have and the penalties attendant to contempt?
I think so, Your Honor. I guess what I would say is, if this would be permissible, is first off, regarding the trial itself, there's no concerns with anything being under the influence there. So I agree with that characterization. As to my own contempt, I would ask if that could be adjourned just for that show cause, but if that makes sense.
Certainly. Mr.
But
Radsbond.
this way you don't, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
Sorry about, there's just a lag. Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just saying this way you don't have to worry about that first issue that you're getting at there.
Okay. All right, Mr. Radsbond, do you have any objection to an adjournment?
No, Judge, I procedurally, this will count as his arraignment on the show cause, and then the next step would be to have a hearing on the contempt matter.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so let me double check. I think we've
Hearing
got,
on-
We can't hear you, Judge.
This is wild.
hear me?
Now we can.
This guy
I
just
wasn't-
tried
I
a
wasn't
case
talking. Okay.
after the
Oh,
trial.
Checking the April, I'm checking the April 3rd docket.
If this is the standard, you could get every attorney I've ever met in Chicago. But he told him not to leave the courthouse.
Mr.
This
Weissy, I did remand you into the custody of the Presque County Sheriff. Do you know why you're calling in from the Alpena County Jail?
I was taken here to jail last night, probably around 11 p.m. I'd say. An officer showed up. He said, "You're coming to Alpena." He showed up at the Presque County Jail where I was lodged, and I asked, "Well, why is that, sir?" And he said something about conflict of interest.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I
well, I
assume
had
just because of the
entered-
cases. Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I have entered a judgment as to yesterday's contempt, which will allow your release at 6 p.m. So that did get filed to be released at that time. And I'll schedule this second show cause for a hearing in person in the Presque County Courthouse on Monday, April 3rd at 2:30 in the afternoon. And Mr. Radsbond, that would be an evidentiary hearing if necessary then.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Okay, anything further from the prosecution?
No, Judge, thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Wisely?
No, Your Honor, I'm very sorry for the inconvenience and everything like that. I really am. So, but thank you.
Okay, we'll see you April 3rd, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, Stan, we'll be in recess.
Wow. That was sent to me, and I couldn't help myself. I saw just a couple minutes of it, and I'm like, nah, I got to run with this. It's really short. I wanted to squeeze it in. I went to check on the Paltrow trial, and it was on break. I don't know if they've resumed, but I'll go over there and see if anything's shaken after this. But that's a crazy one to me. This guy tries a case. Then apparently the judge says stay in the courthouse because we might have to deal with jury instructions or questions from the jury. And that could make sense. But typically when we try a case, I mean, not always, but I learned it this way. I've known a lot of drunk attorneys who are sitting there hearing the verdict read because the case is over. You've done your part. And it's to the jury at that point. But if the judge said, stay in the courthouse, and then he sneaks off and ties one on, the contempt is for lying to him about drinking. So this is kind of interesting because the attorney and the judge seems to agree. I don't think you were drinking before the trial. You came and tried your case, and whatever happened. But afterwards, I had an order, and you left the courthouse when you were supposed to stay there, and you got drunk, and I think even worse than that, came back and lied about it. Judges in Chicago they wouldn't ask you if you've been drinking after you closed a case. They'd be thinking, yeah, you probably have been. Oh Oh, the poor guy. And he's in Presque Isle. I don't know where that. I know it's northern Michigan, but it's on the other side of the state. So I don't know how far Presque Isle is from Alpena, but this guy tries a case. He's thinking, I'm going to have a couple beers afterwards. And 1.5 is like you've been drinking, but that's not crazy. That's not crazy. They said they found him asleep. So he goes and has a couple. He goes and has a couple and then naps out because he's exhausted after a trial. Oh, that's a wild one. I'm glad. I had to sneak that one in. Okay. Tell me, do we have one of the parties showing up over in the Paltrow case? I might have to go over there. I don't want to miss Gwyneth Paltrow or the plaintiff. So I'll have to go over there and check it out. Yes, everyone's telling me. I hope somebody recorded Manning. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I hope somebody recorded Manning for me. I hear it was just craziness all day long. I'm all for it, but if anything, if I'm going to stream anything, it's going to be the Paltrow trial this afternoon. So thank you all for coming out. I'll have to make a thumbnail for this and everything else, but that was really interesting. Oh, Jalen Nation, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, I'll see y'all soon. In fact, I'm gonna run over right now and see what's happening with the Paltrow trial.